Hello, welcome back to All Sewn Up with Teresa. This afternoon we're going to be looking at a journal cover where the inspiration was taken from a picture or a painting by Pablo Picasso in around about 1938. It's the Rooster. Now I've no idea where this painting is. I attended the Royal Academy in London last week to see the Picasso and paper exhibition. It was absolutely fabulous. If you get the chance to see this exhibition, do so. And it's enormous. I think it's the biggest exhibition I've been to. But anyway, the Rooster wasn't there. I've no idea where it is. I've even contacted Tate in London to see if they can pin down this particular painting, but I haven't had any reply. So if any of you do know where this is, please let me know. I'm desperate to see it. But anyway, having said that, this is the Rooster. As I said, it's painted by Pablo Picasso. Now, when I saw it, I mean, I've always loved it, but recently I've seen it again, and I thought, oh wow, that is just crying out to be put on a journal cover with using applique and slow stitch. So if you look at these lines, where's my scissors? If you look at these lines here, it's just crying out for slow stitch or hand embroidery. It's just there. Now, having seen this and felt, yeah, I'm going to do this in textiles, I took the liberty of, if I can find them, they're under here. I've actually played around on the computer to get some special effects. Now, as you can see, the picture actually translates into lines. So the lines are all there for you to follow if you want to, or the shapes are there for you to cut out in applique and sew down. I just think it's lovely, and it was such fun to play around. And I particularly used blue on here because the piece, when I show it to you, I've used these colours. I've stuck to Picasso's original colours. And I'm just curious to see what the effect would have been in maybe blue, a completely different colour. Now, these images I've taken off the internet and they're free, so do be careful with your copyright and go for the free printables, those that you can take off and use. Now, I've also seen these templates as well, and I just love this. And it is very much like Picasso's. I don't suppose you can go wrong really with the Rooster, but I just think they're lovely. Now, these were free printables as well. You might want to look at those. Google Rooster free printables. That's what I did, and I came up with these, and I was really pleased with those. I will be using those later, but not for this project. For this project, we're going to stick to Picasso's painting. Now, the first thing to do, which I did, was to run off a picture, tracing of this. Now, the way I did it was to put this against the window so the light is coming through. Now, we did this before, I think it was with Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night, those of you who joined in that one. So this on the window, and you place a plain piece of paper over it, and the light then shines through and it picks up the design or the picture, lovely, and you trace round it. Now, as you can see, I've already traced round it, and I've numbered the pieces. And I've got 10 pieces there. Now, I've done this. This is a reference. So when I cut all the pieces out, I'll know where they fit back. A bit like a jigsaw puzzle. So I did 2 copies. One for reference and one that I'm going to cut the shapes out. So I've already done that. I've already cut out the cockerel. Now, what I will be doing, I should turn the camera off for a while and cut out these shapes. So I'll do that now. I'll cut the shapes out and I'll get back to you in a minute. Right, I'm back. I've cut out the pieces, but while I was cutting them out, I realised that I hadn't shown you what we're actually going to be making. It is a journal cover. This is my finished one, and as you can see, there's quite a good likeness to the picture or the painting that we'll be using. I can just find it again. I'll place it at the side. So there's the original. Now I've actually kept the scale of this the same. So when I printed this out, I printed out the size that I wanted. So there, if you can see them side by side. So this is the finished one. The front, slow stitch, applique. I think somewhere there might be a little bit of needle weave. Yeah, no, that's not needle weaving, but lazy daisy here. What else have we got? No, I think it is actually all slow stitch. The border as well. I bought the slow stitch round here just to break the background up, and I don't think there's any other stitch there. Maybe I think I did some chain stitch there, very fine chain stitch there, but apart from that, it is, as you see, running stitch, the slow stitch. So that is the front, and it's on a plain furnishing fabric. Well, actually no, I think that is a dress fabric. It's a small remnant that I was given, so I'm not quite sure whether it was dress or fabric. And I know you can't probably see that, but there is a gold thread running through here. I believe it's the shape of flowers. So that is the front. Then it opens out into a spine. Now I've added the spine. All what you're looking at here is applique. Slow stitch, the running stitch, and appliqued lace and net here. I don't know if I can make that a bit bigger. I'm sorry, I've got to just go. Oh no, it's not much bigger, is it? It's on a plain navy blue background. This side, the back. Now if you had followed some of these journal covers in the past, you'll probably start to recognize my particular style, which is, as you see, I love the appliqued flowers. So that is one appliqued flower there and another appliqued flower on the top. This here, the green, if you can see the green here, is needle weaving. I love needle weaving. You can pull it and make as many beautiful shapes as you want to. We have some herringbone stitches here with string. There's string here and there's some string here. Lace again, more lace, all with the tiny running stitches. So this one is on a red background. You can't, I don't think you can see much of the original red poking through apart from there and here. The rest of the red fabric has all been covered up with lace, netting, mostly lace actually, and the string. I love the string effect. You can see rows here of running stitch. Some of them are following the shape of the flower, and others are random, like speckling stitch here. So it's entirely up to you and the mood that you're in at the time, I think. And of course, as with slow stitch, it isn't about the pace that you do your stitch. It's about the thinking. It's associated with mindfulness. Although you don't have to practice that while you sew, it's still slow stitch. But I think with anything that you get involved with, sometimes you get lost in it and you don't consciously meditate, but it's almost like a meditation. Now the corners here are metal corners that I bought from Amazon. They weren't that expensive. I've popped those on the end because the fabric I've used frays and the corners were fraying. So that is the front and the back and the spine. Now the inside, I've tried to keep the inside as plain as possible to contrast and complement the front. The front is very busy, lots of work going on there. This is dress fabric. Once again, all my fabrics are donations, even dresses that people give me, shirts I cut up. This was a dress, so that once again has gold thread. It's gold, which unfortunately doesn't seem to be coming out on the screen. Lace that I took off from a cushion cover that I bought in a charity shop just for about £1, but that had lots of this lace on it, so I've taken that off. Here, up here, there's some running stitch. If you can see the blue here, running stitch to hold the lace in place, and there's 3 rows of that. There's one on the edge, one in the middle, and one on the inside edge. This is just a little bit of decoration. I put the pink in there and then decided that I wouldn't put it all the way around the edge, because although it's okay on one side, I think on 4 sides it might have been a bit too messy. However, on the edge of the lace, if I lift this up slightly, on the edge of the lace I have woven through all the way round with a pink. The pink matches this pink herringbone. Whoops, up the top. This screen is so small. Up the top. So there's just a little bit of pink there, which complements the colours on here, I think. This is a pocket. One long pocket right across the inside. Now, as you can see, it hasn't been sewn down in the middle. There is a middle there. That will happen naturally when the signatures are put in. When the journal's put in and sewn into place, those will automatically form into a front pocket and a back pocket. So this is what we're actually going to be doing this afternoon. It didn't take too long to do this. Once I sat down and really got involved in it, it's just surprising how quickly it happens. I mean, it did take a couple of nights to do, but it was fun. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. So anyway, this is what we will be doing. So there we go, that's that. Now these are the pieces that I've cut out. Numbers, on the design, my numbers are 9 and 10, which is these pieces. Okay, I've not cut those out yet. I will cut those out later and apply them onto this big shape, onto that, and it makes it a lot easier to apply the little pieces onto the big shape rather than cut those out now and end up with that piece there, this piece here, and a piece there, all to be connected together. So that is why 9 and 10 are still on 5 and 6. So those are the pieces. This too, now it's entirely up to you if you cut each feather out individually and work each individually. I didn't. I decided to cut out the feathers as one shape, and then divide them with the stitches. If I hold that up, you might be able to see, yes, roughly how I've divided the feathers with the stitches. It would have been too time consuming and too fiddly for me to have cut the feathers out one by one, but I actually think it works quite nicely there. Now the fabric, I'll just push these over to one side. The fabric I'm using, I've decided, like the printouts, to go for blue. Totally different from the original. Now, this beautiful fabric, donations again, I don't think I have to say that. This is going to be the cover. That's my cover. Now, it was very flimsy. It's a woven fabric, as you can see, and it's beautiful. This will be beautiful to remove the threads in another project and weave in and out for lots of texture. But at the moment, it's beautiful as it is, very textured, but it was very, very flimsy. So I've lined this with some interfacing, iron-on interfacing, and it's just given it that little bit of strength needed to stitch on without it flopping all over the place. So that will be the outside cover. The design will go here. My rooster will go there. So that's that chosen. This will be the backing. This is the backing for the outside cover. Now this is calico. You might not have calico. Your fabric might not even need to be lined like this, but this does. So this will go on there, and I will tack them together. These will be tacked all the way around the edge, pinned first, all the way around the edge, pinned, and then tacking. I know some people call it basting, but it's the same. So I'm going to pin all the way around the edge and then baste or tack, and then remove the pins because they'll only get in the way of the actual sewing. Now that makes the cover nice and sturdy, and it stops any stretch that the outside fabric may have, and it's just lovely. It's just going to make it lovely. So that so far is the outside cover. Now I've already chosen the fabric for the inside cover. We needn't actually spend much time on that at the moment, but this will be the inside. So I'm just going to pop that over there. No, I think I'm telling a big fat lie. This looks like the inside. Oh yeah, I'm not really sure what I'll be using as the inside. This one maybe not. Oh goodness, perhaps I haven't chosen it yet. I thought I'd chosen it, but never mind. So this is just the collection of fabrics I'm going to use for the body, for the actual rooster. I've stuck to blues, mostly blue based, and a little bit of red to break it up, a little bit of green and yellow, and I think these look rather nice. Now at this moment I'm not too sure how I'm going to have these. I think considering a little while ago I was going to have this, as I thought it was the inside. Well, it isn't. It's going to be part of the body of the rooster. If I can just refer to this one again. Yes, I think I'm going to have a nice big piece here. Now this is the right side, but I actually prefer the wrong side. So when you're designing and stitching and doing what you do, don't overlook the back of your fabric, of your textile, because sometimes you'll find that the back is often nicer than the front for what you want. So never be worried about using the back. When I was teaching, I had the same, the same principle then. Use the back if it's nice. And some of my students was actually make their designs, apply them onto dressmaking pieces. They would actually dressmake and use the back of the fabric. And some of this, they were producing stunning garments, stunning designs. So never be worried about using the back of the fabric. So what I'm going to do now, off camera again, I'm going to sit and work out, that's my clock, how I'm going to use these fabrics with these shapes. So I will cut them out, I will pin them down and cut round them, and then I shall put them back. Oh, you can't see that, sorry. I'll pin these in place. I did say a long piece in this, so that will be pinned down, and I should cut it out, and I should choose one of these fabrics for each of these pieces of paper, and I'll cut them out, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've cut them out. Now I've cut out all the pieces as I said I would, and I'm just finishing tacking the background calico to the front cover. So I only have a few more stitches to go. Now I'm using the thread single thread, and I've used a knot as well. This will be coming out. Why I've used red is so that you can see it, but as I say, it will be removed, so please don't worry about the state of your stitches. If they're scruffy, it doesn't matter, because no one will be seeing these. Right, so that's the 4 sides now tacked together. I've used a nice long thin needle, if you can see that, nice long and thin. Nice eye, not too big, not too small. Now I can afford to use quite it's not the thinnest needle, but it's a fair size. But according to the fabric, if this had been say a nice cotton or a silk, I would have used a finer needle, but because it's quite robust, I can afford to use a slightly bigger needle. So pop that on the side. Now we need to find, if you can see, that's been tacked all the way around now. Need to find the middle of the cover, because I'd like the rooster round about in the middle, so I've got an even amount of fabric all the way round, mostly for the binding or for the borders. Now the best way of doing this is to open it up, and it's not rocket science at all. I'm going to find the middle of this just by crossing. Now we want to find halfway. First I should explain. Fold this, which is now the cover, in half. Either iron it in place as I did, or you can pin it or mark it. So now you have front cover and you have back cover. Now on the inside of the front cover, where you've just tacked, just run a pencil line, a fine pencil line, from one corner across to the other, and then do the same on the other corner. This pencil line won't be seen because it will have a backing on it, so it doesn't matter. Now where the 2 lines cross here, that is the center of the fabric. Okay, now take your reference, the rooster that you're using as reference. Now all I did, I found the feet and the comb here. I folded them in half so they meet like this, and then in half. Now where that fold is the center of the design, and just pop a mark. So I've already popped my mark there. Now that is the center, and it's number 3. Right, now I'm going to start tacking the shapes on the front of the cover. Now pop this to one side, because you will be referring to this, and you'll see now why it was quite important to do it. So I'm going to just pop that out of the way. It is there where I can see it. Whoops, or not. Want to escape from the table. Right, now then, so we've decided that this is the front cover and we've marked the center. So let's turn it over and take another needle. Now I've changed needles this time. This is a finer sharp needle with a longer eye. Now why it's finer is because some of the fabric I'm using now is so fine that if I use a large needle, it's going to leave needle holes. So I need a finer needle so I won't be left with needle holes. Now I'm going to go back inside, and in that centre there, just come through, and I've knotted it. That's it, nice knot. Ooh, you can't really see that, can you? Too much red going on. Right, so there we are. So the centre here, we'd already said, is number 3, the wing. So I'm going to find shape number 3, and here it is. There it is, number 3. That way. Stick that back there. I need that again soon. Oh, just make sure that's the right way around. And pin it. Well, no, what I'll do first, I'll take the thread, needle and thread through here. Remove the pin. Remove the paper. Wouldn't matter if you went through it. Right, and that is now in place. So a little pin there to hold it down. Lovely. Just a few tacks around it, a few tacking stitches to hold it in place. And remember, this won't be seen because the tacking stitches will eventually be removed. And all the tacking stitches are, for anyone brand new to this, they're just like the running stitches that you will be using in a minute or later on. And all you're doing is in and out, in and out. Okay, nice little task to do. So that wing, oops, is now in place. So finish off at the back. I'm not going to knot that, there's no point because it's coming out shortly. And remove the pin. So that's the first piece. The wing is in place. Where are we? There. So the wing is in place, and at the moment it's actually getting lost on the background. I hope I've made the right choice here of fabric. So the next one I think we'll do is shape number, let's have a look, see what's to hand. Let's do shape number 5. Number 5, which is this nice right side of the body. So number 5, let's find that. Ah, here we are. So here's number 5. And as you can see, number 6 will go over there. Or is that number 9? That's 6 or number 9 will fit in there. Alright. So now we're going to place this, take the pins off now. And match it up just like a jigsaw. So that's lovely. And then put the pins back. Pins back. Now if you have any straggly bits of fabric and you think, ooh, it's not quite the right shape, just trim them. Just trim them. Your work, you make the rules. So that one will go there. Now this time I'm going to pin number 6 as well, and I'm going to do the tacking all in one. Now you can do it piece by piece like we did number 3, or you can pin them all first and then sew them, tack them together all at the same time, I should say. So number 6 goes, I'm referring back to my picture. Number 6 goes, how far does it go up? It goes up to there. Yeah, lovely. So we're going to put number 6 there, making sure it's the right way round, and pin. So pin that. and it's beginning to take shape. Now you can tack all the way around there, but I'm not going to, and that is purely to save time, that's all. But you can, if you feel more confident tacking, then you tack round them all, hold them in place. But I will tack, but I'll do that at the end. You don't need to see me tacking. Right, so the next piece we're going to take will be, let's try number 2. And number 2 goes this way. Lovely. So pins out. Let's have a look. Refer back to, yep, that's lovely. So that goes there. I couldn't manage without the reference and these numbers. I think I would find it all too confusing. So that's number 2. Next piece will be the feathers. So the beautiful tail feathers, and they go there. So paper piece off. Now this is the wrong side of the fabric. That is the right side. But it's highly textured, and I think because it is so textured, the stitching, the slow stitching that we're going to do may get lost in the pile of the fabric. Right, let's work this out. That's there. So, that's a tricky old one, that one. Right, that one goes, because there's a gap between there and there. Oh, that's about it. So that goes there. And have we got any other big pieces to do? Now the next part are the smaller pieces, which I won't do at the moment. That piece goes there. That's the comb, and that goes round about there. But I can't really put that in until I do the beak and the eye. So I'm going to leave that for the time being, but I'll carry on and tack it all down. And the next time I see you will be for the actual stitching. So I'm just going to turn the camera off. I'll carry on stitching this, tacking it down. As soon as I've done that, we'll be ready to start our slow stitch. Okay, so give me a minute and I will be back. Right, now this is the applique on the front of the cover. As you can see, or not see, as you can see, I've tacked it all down with the red thread, and I've lightly pressed it on the wrong side. I pressed it this side on a clean tea towel just to flatten down any little straggly bits that were sticking up and could make it awkward to sew. Now I can see at this point I'm going to have to use strong colour threads on this to make it stand out from the background. Otherwise the design is likely to get lost into all these rows of really pretty threads. So at the moment these are the colours that I've chosen, and they're quite bright. They're a lot brighter than you can see on the screen. These are a starting point. Might not stick to it. It depends. I'm going to make my decision as I go along. I'm going to start with yellow. I'd like to use, there isn't any yellow in the background. So seeing as there isn't any yellow, I could have said that better, sorry. Seeing as there isn't any yellow, I think I'm going to use yellow in the main part here. I know there's yellow here, but that can be played down a little bit depending on the thread that I choose to put on top. But just for the time being, I'm going to start with yellow and take it from there. But it will actually grow, or the colours will be determined as the piece grows. So I'm going to start off, I'll start here, and I've got 2 strands of thread, embroidery thread or floss, and I've knotted, I've put a nice knot in the back, and I'm going to follow the contour, the line of the dark blue. So we should end up with lots and lots of related lines. So I'm going to start here, small. Now you can make these stitches as small or as large as you wish. Well, not too large actually, otherwise it will start looking like tacking stitch. So nice stitches. Now when you're embroidering and you're doing art as textiles as an art, there are certain principles that you bear in mind, and one of them is contrast. Now the contrast is opposites. So in one design you would have long stitches against short stitches. You would have smooth textures against rough textures. It's all about producing texture and interest, and that comes down predominantly to contrast. So if you find your stitches aren't even, you've got long ones and you've got short ones, it doesn't matter. They do not have to be the same length, otherwise it's boring. So do vary your stitches as you wish to. Now that is coming on quite nicely. I have a nice sharps needle here, and it's not blunt, it has a nice, as it sounds, sharp point, and it's just gliding in and out through all these layers of fabric, because I have the applique Rooster, which is 1 layer of fabric, onto the background, that's 2, through the interfacing 3, and then through to the background calico. So that is 4 layers I'm actually sewing through. So nice stitches, they don't have to be evenly spaced either. You might want to do, bearing in mind contrast, so you might want to do some close together and some at a distance. It's all about texture and interest. So I'm going to carry on doing this. I'll be working out my colours as I go along, but this is all that will happen now. Just rows and rows of stitching. Whoops. So if we look back at this one, if you can see, it's now just rows and rows of stitching, all following each other. Down here, following the outline, the contour. Same here, following the contour. I stopped short here to have, once again, contrast, plain areas against the patterned area. So I carried that on all the way around there. I'm not sure how this will pan out, whether I will do the same, because things change as you're doing them. It's nice to have an idea of what you're going to do, but as you're doing it and it grows, it's the idea, it's a growth of an idea. So the inspiration is there, the technique is there, you know what you're going to do, but as it grows, it develops, and with that development, it changes. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with this one. So there we are at the moment. I'm going to carry on with my running stitches, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've done that. So it won't seem that long for you, but it's going to be several hours for me. So until then, I'll see you shortly. So this last piece here took several hours to do yesterday. I've now finished the front. As you can see, it's quite busy, but I'll explain it as I go along. It's all slow stitch, running stitch, apart from these two here, the pinwheels here for the eyes. I don't think there are any other stitches that I've used. Now the tail bit, I did exactly the same as I did for the rooster on this one. Produced the tail like this, the feathers like this, but then decided that it got lost in the background fabric. So this bit here, I've exaggerated the tail feathers with lace. Now the lace that I used here, I cut out leaves. They're actually leaves from a piece of lace like this. It's probably actually these pieces here that you like, move that slightly. You see the leaves here on the lace. I cut the lace out of those, fussy cut those out, and I've applied them, appliqued them here. So these are just leaves, but I think they give them the impression of feathers. And of course I've kept one piece of the original feathers here. The rest is just as before, slow stitching. I'm not too sure about this piece. It doesn't look too bad on the screen at the moment, but at a distance I ironed it and I've stretched it slightly. Well, I hung it slightly, and at a distance you couldn't see it, so I'm not sure about this piece. But this here is the spine, and that is done once again with lace. Now all I did, I cut a strip of lace like this. It's actually from the same piece of fabric, like this. I placed this fabric underneath, actually the wrong side, because the wrong side was stronger, and I pinned it, then tacked all the way round, and then I cut it, and I ended up with this very nice strip here. So once again, I've pinned the strip down, I tacked all the way around the edge, and then slow stitch. If I hold that up, you can just about see the slow stitching around here, picking out some of the shapes around there. Now this spine, when it closes, half will be at the back and half will be at the front. Now it will be quite easy to sew the signatures through this because it isn't that thick. So that's as far as I've got at the moment. The next piece will be the next bit we'll be looking at the back piece there. Now I'm going to do this back basically the same as I have done the other journal covers. Those of you who have been following will probably notice the style. As I said earlier, I think it's becoming very much my style, the big flowers and the sewing and the applique, but it's just such fun to do, it really is. So this is how I'm going to have the back here. So I'll have a similar looking back there. Now the fabrics I'm going to use, I'm going to incorporate some of these. I'll incorporate some of these just to make it flow when it's open flat. I have quite a lot of offcuts here. Loads of offcuts here. So I'm going to make a start, and what I will do, that some of these will be applied, they'll be tacked down and sewn just like I did in previous covers. I'm not sure there's any need, for those of you who have been following from the start, I'm not sure if you really want me to keep repeating the techniques, but what I will do, I shall lay some of these down. There's the big flowers. I don't intend to hide all the background because it is lovely, but I think I made a mistake choosing that because it's lovely, but it's also very, very fussy, and it's very dominant. I like that piece here. I like this. I might like put that down there. Now, this piece, why it's shaped like that, it's because it's the piece, you see the shape here, it's the piece I cut off. So that was one piece, and as I explained earlier, I pinned it down, tacked it, then cut off the surplus. Well, this was the surplus that I cut off, but it's quite a nice shape. If I put that back on the paper, you can see just how lovely that shape is. So I really like this, so I'd like to use this on the back somewhere, and possibly there. I'm not sure. As I said earlier, it is a work in progress. I don't set out with a plan, it just evolves. So although I'm doing this now, I could get back to it and it will be something totally different. Not so different that you think I've cheated and I've had one stored away, or I've taken the back off of something else. This is far too long. This piece here was white, a white tablecloth. Where's my trusty paper again? Then you can see this was white, but I dyed that with natural food colouring, and it's come out a really lovely green. I do love green, and that's a particularly nice one. So I might manage to pop this in somewhere. Well, I will do, because actually it relates to the shapes here, so it might be quite nice just to have a little piece there, because we have the relationship there between the two shapes, the two curves. Might put that there. As always, I love using lace, as some of you will know. Love the lace, so I might pop the lace there. I've ended up with lots and lots of squares, and that is from a previous project, a commission that I was asked to do, and it was basically very angular and sharp, spiky. So I've ended up with lots of little squares, offcuts, which I might use again. At this stage, it really is a matter of just playing around and seeing what you come up with. I have lots of pieces of lace as well, which I will incorporate. But I'm not sure how fussy that I want the back, because the front is fussy. But once again, once the folder, the journal cover is closed, you're only going to see half at a time. Now I'm going to continue on with this. I just need to tell you, and I realised, you know how things go through your mind, I realised I hadn't actually given you the size of this, and if I remember, I will pop it on, put some text on the front of this, but on the front of the video I should say. This is 15 inches wide by 9 inches high, so it's 15 by 9, and off the top of my head I can't work that out in centimetres, but I'm going to carry on with this. So my next task will be to sort out the fabrics I'm going to use, to pin them down first. I will pin them down, and then I will tack them in place, and I'll get back to you as soon as I've done that, which won't be very long actually, but I won't bore you and do it now. So I won't be a minute, and I will be back. Right, I've now tacked all the pieces down. As you can see, I've tacked them here quite a lot. I tacked them in rows. I didn't do each little motif individually or each little square individually. I did them in rows. If you can see that, can you see the rows, the lines of tacking? It's a lot easier to do that way, as long as you manage to catch each piece of fabric. So I'm going to start slow stitching that, but before I start there, I've made another small change to the front page. It's looking very bright on the screen, but it isn't actually that bright. Along here I found a little piece of cotton lace. I put it down there and I thought, yeah, that looks nice. It might just be what I need to tone down the background a little more, but it was very startling. So I've actually placed, you can see that, a little piece of lace that I had netting over the top. So I'm going to leave that there for a while to see if I like it or if it's just a passing fancy. I might take it off yet. I have a feeling I'll leave it, but I won't sew that down until I finish the back, and that will give me time to keep looking at it to make a choice. So back to the back. Oh, that was a little bit of a mouthful. I shall start sewing from the middle here, because this middle piece of lace is going over probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's maybe touching 6 pieces of fabric, 6 little motifs or other pieces of patches, shall we say. And by doing that piece, it's going to immediately secure those 6 pieces. So I'll start here. Where should I start? I'm going to start here. I should just start, and then oh, this is a bit awkward. Right, so where are we? Right, I'll just show you me making a start, then I will turn the camera off and carry on. See, once again, small stitches. Now I find the problem is with applique, layering fabrics, is knowing when to stop. For me, I think we've discussed it before, for me, less isn't more, more is more. So I imagine that quite a lot of you feel the same way actually. It's knowing when to stop. This is quite heavy now. It's a fair weight and it's a fair thickness. But before I carry on with this off camera, can I just say to anybody who's new, if you feel that you need a bit more information on this, please seek out my my videos, the introduction to and some of the journal covers, because especially the earlier ones, the introductory videos go on to explain a little bit more, and there's more camera work involved. So I hope this is clear though. I hope nobody feels, oh, you know, you're not actually gaining anything. So anyway, on that note, I'm going to finish here. It's going to take me several hours to do this, but for you it's only going to be a second. Okay, because I'll be back before you know it. So I'll switch the camera off here. Have a lovely afternoon. What's the time here? It's 2:10 on a very wet London day. I mean, we wouldn't have it any other way, would we? I see you poor people in Australia, and I've shed more than one tear. It's absolutely tragic. So the rain is wonderful. Anyway, I hope you're all well, and I hope all my Australian friends are surviving this and coping with the awful things that are happening. But I will be back, and I'll be back very shortly. Although for me, as I said before, it's going to be several hours. So speak to you soon. Bye bye. So here we have the finished cover, the front and the back. To the front, I finished off the lace that I showed you earlier on with a blanket stitch. So all that is blanket stitch. Now I thought that I would do that in blue to link in with the colours on the bird. I'm still a bit concerned about the busyness of the background and the shape of this wing. This is an inner wing. If you imagine the bird has these wings raised, that is the inner side of one wing. Apart from that, oh yes, I did add that piece there. You see the lace here at the bottom. So here it's, as I explained earlier, two lots of different laces with just a small slow stitch running round. Now unfortunately I did that and then realised that the border will probably cover most of that up, so that might have been a wasted exercise. But I'm now calling the front finished. Move along a little bit towards the back. Now, as I explained earlier, that this, it might look a bit lopsided and the front looks a lot bigger than the back, but it isn't, because that will be folded. So don't forget, this is the spine and that will be folded. So there you go, that is a true size of the back. Before we get to the back, I added some lace down here. There was a tiny strip of fabric showing all the way down here, and I didn't like it. It just looked unfinished. So I've added a strip of lace here, and then I've just woven in and out, in and out, in and out with two strips of fabric that I had. So that's produced quite a nice effect. If I hold that up, I think that's quite a nice effect. This shape does indeed reflect the shape here, as we spoke about earlier. Now, finished back. Now, I always love the back. Sometimes I enjoy the backs more than I do the front, because there's a lot of freedom to this. With the front, to a certain extent, I mean, you are inspired by, like, this inspiration is from Picasso, as you know. But the back, often it's just a matter of grabbing what's on your table, what's in your rag bag, your bits and pieces box, and working with it, as I did with most of this. Now I've used lace. These pieces here are from the same piece of lace that came from that I used for the feathers in the tail, and as you can see, they are very much related. Big flowers, odds and ends of net that I had in my bits and pieces box. This is a really nice piece of net. It's more like a mesh. It did have a border, a nice flowery border, but this is just lovely for weaving in and out. And if you look closely, don't want to make you dizzy by keep moving this, I have woven in and out through the mesh, slow stitched it, and I think that is rather lovely. Other areas all slow stitched. Buttonhole, no, sorry, not buttonhole, blanket stitch around here just to accentuate that beautiful shape. And I've used it somewhere else, I think, and I can't see it. Oh, perhaps I only used it there. Oh, I can't see it at all. Few straight stitches here in string. This is string as well, star shapes of string, and cross stitches along here. I think the cross stitches in the string, I needed to do something to join the two, to marry the top and the bottom. It seemed to have naturally gone into top along there and the bottom. and I thought, no, there's too much of a divide here with this dark green line, so I've dumbed it down a bit with the string, and I think that works really well because the string now runs from the top down here down to there and off. So your eye, it's like a composition, like when you're writing a story or painting. Your eye will now go right the way down there, so I'm quite pleased with that. Right, so I'm calling that finished as well. The next part is where it actually starts looking finished. Oh, let me just fold that first, and then you will see the front and the back, and you can see here how the spine falls down the center and that falls down the back. That is not the spine, that is just pure embellishment. So anyway, don't worry about what's going on in here, although having said that, I'm just going to chop that off. That's annoying me a bit. Make sure that's not, oh, that is a knot, so I'm just going to cut that knot there. Right, so don't worry about what's going on in there, no one gets to see that. Now the next bit, I've chosen the backing fabric. Now I like this because it has a pinky hue to it. Also has a blue look to it. Well, it is navy blue. So I think the colours match perfectly with what's going on in the front. And of course as well the lines. If you can see the lines here, that match with the lines on the front. All clever stuff. All clever stuff. Mind you, you might not agree. I'm not sure I do either. But still, having said that. So, this is the same size as you can see. The lining is the same size as the cover. Goes on there edge to edge. And this will form the pocket. Now, we need to make sure that the pocket, that's it, will go down here, and it will be the right way up when we close the journal. And that is right, the pocket's at the bottom. That's lovely. I have actually done this before and put the lace here thinking the cover was round the other way. Oh, didn't realise it until I'd actually sewn it down that it was round the wrong way. Now I'm going to tack this. Sorry, not tack, pin. Now, at this stage, you might feel that you don't need to tack. I'm not tacking this. I'm just going to pin it in place like this. All the way around, just to hold it. I'm doing it at the top as well, just to hold it in place while we get the border on. Now it would be nice if when we change from monkey to man, which it is, I know, debatable, would have been really useful if we kept our tails, especially those of you who have children or, dare I say, very elderly parents, just to have that tail to hook around the children or to help out in times like this would have been wonderful, because at the moment my tail could have carried on pinning while I do this. Now you need 2 long pieces the same length as your journal cover. 2 long pieces the same length. Now I've chosen mine. This is the wrong side. As I said, I much prefer the wrong side with a lot of fabrics. That is the right side. Now for me, I think that would have been too fussy on the front, but I liked the colours. So I've got the colours, it's a more greeny. I've got the colours without the fussiness. It's very muted, if you can see that. It's very, very lovely. So I'm now going to pin this. I've ironed it in half just to make it easier to put in place. So I'm going to pin that now. Now if you iron it exactly in half, you're going to know that once you put this edge to the fold of the border, you've got half the border this side and half the other side, and they should meet up lovely, because that's very important when it comes to sewing. You need them to meet up. Now I'm still not going to tack this, I'm just going to pick it up and run with it. Now, oh, that's a blunt pin. I thought I'd got rid of all those. Oh my goodness, that really is blunt. And that's in there. It's lovely. Now I'm going to do this exactly the same the other side. Same here. Match them up and pin them. So carefully remove the pin we've put in. And pin it down. Oh my giddy aunt, that is so tough. Oh, I know why. This was a sample bit, and where the name of the fabric was on the sample, it was actually glued on. So there's little bits of glue there. I thought I'd got them out, but obviously not from that end. So, but I can live with that. Oh, I don't mind samples like that. Right, there we go. So, up that way again. So we've secured what will be the pocket along there. We've secured that under the border. So the two borders are there. Now what I want to show you, there we go. It's already taking shape. That's two borders. Now with these, those will be, no, they won't be tacked down because I'm not tacking. But if you feel you need to tack, by all means tack them. I might tack at the end. This one is going to go, so you're going to need the sides to be the length of the sides you have now, and not the 9-inch sides of the journal cover. I need to turn this around so that's better. That's better. So as you can see, this now is the side. The side started off at 9 inches, but obviously it's now a bit more than 9 inches because we've managed to put a border on there. Now it won't be much more than 9 because we've taken the border, the fold of the border right up to the edge of the cover, if that made sense. So then we do the same here. Now I'm going to just extend this piece just slightly so we can trim that off nicely at the end. Give it a very neat trim, or put book corners on there. Oh my goodness, where I've been busy, my hand dyeing stuff, my hands have gone a bit rough, and it's no good for working with this really nice silky fabric. So pin this down as well, all the way along. That pin underneath can come out. Make sure you don't leave any pins inside, because at this stage it's easy for the pins to get hidden. Right, lovely. And we're going to do exactly the same here. And that will be the border, the binding if you like. It's not really binding, but some people do call it binding. binding would be on the cross of the fabric, just giving it a little bit of stretch, but we don't need that stretch on this. So make that sure that's nice and flat and straight. Doesn't look very straight at the moment. Right, what am I doing with my scissors? Just get my scissors. Lovely. Just chop these very long bits off there and there, because I won't like those in the way while I'm sewing. That's lovely. Now I think at this stage I might, well, I know I will, I'm going to now do a running stitch, a basting stitch all the way around the edge to keep it in place while I slow stitch. So that is what I'm going to go away and do now. I'm going to do the running stitch along here, along all the 4 sides, and then I'm going to start the slow stitch. So as I have always say, for you it's going to be 10 seconds. For me it's going to be quite a nice couple of hours. So I'll see you soon. So take care now. Be back soon. And here we have the finished cover. I have one more small job to do on here, just to show you how I put the corners on. What have I done? Slow stitch the border around the edge. I didn't fold it in, I didn't neaten it, it is just as I cut it. It's slightly fraying, that's okay, it's a junk journal cover. I've outlined, let me find the scissors, I've outlined the wing. I was a bit concerned because that shape just disappeared into the background. I've also outlined up here as well the other wing. And apart from that, I don't think I've really touched it at all. No, not at all. The lace has partially disappeared from here, but there's still half of it left, which gives a nice little bit of texture. I haven't stitched that down all the way because I actually like the look of that just being loose and a bit flappy. So that is the outside. The inside, there we go, is finished as well. Now, as I said, this will divide as soon as the signatures go in. That will divide naturally because the signatures will be sewn in. I'm not going to sew the signatures in now because I have a video showing you how to do that. This is primarily how to make the cover, but it's so easy to put the signatures in that it really isn't a problem. So this is now finished. All I'm going to do now is show you how I put the corners on. I've done 3, but I've left the 4th one just so you can see how easy it is. Now, this fabric, as I said, frays, so it needs to be neatened off at the corners because I don't believe in mitering the corners. There's just no point. I don't feel there's any point on a journal cover because a journal cover should be creative and informal, and I think that by introducing mitering and these so-called, I'm going to say, dressmaking techniques, but they don't just apply to dressmaking, I think the journal will lose something. So I like the rough, ragged look, but you might like to miter. I nearly said meter then, didn't I? Right, now I'm going to snip that off. Okay, already it looks better, doesn't it? Now, the book corner, make sure, right, I'm just looking at the screen there. I'm just going to put a tiny piece of glue inside this. Now, I've tried to sew these on like sequins and it just doesn't work. So I found the best thing to do is use a strong glue like the Yoo-hoo, and I'm not being sponsored for that, but it is a very good glue. And just pop it over the end there. That's it. Now just give it a little while to set. Okay, little while to get tacky and to set. Now I have tried in the past when using these, as I've just said, to sew them on as like sequins, over sew them, but that didn't work. And I've also tried with pliers to press them on, but by pressing them on it just alters the shape. It just alters the shape so much that for me, I think gluing them is the best thing. Maybe once they've set, then might be the time to put a few stitches over them, but I haven't actually done that. So this one is now finished as well, so we have two. I'm just going to show you how I will close these. Many different closures to do, but I like this. Now I will be careful because that isn't quite set yet, but this is how I would close them. This is scarf. It was just an ordinary nylon scarf that I've torn into strips and plaited. It's stretchy as well. Now why you'd have a stretchy scarf like that, I have no idea, but it was. These are just right for having nice big beads stuck on them. It's up to you how you finish them. I might actually just cut up there so I get more tassels, a more tassel effect, and then maybe later when I've decided what's going inside, I might put some beads on there. So this will go round here, right the way round. Now the signatures here, as I explained, I'm not going to actually put them in. They're ready to go in, but not in this one. So the journal, the signatures will go in there, and this will come over. Now as you can, maybe it's not meant for more than two big fat signatures. So when the signatures are put in there, you're now going to have two pockets, one there and one the other side. So you'll be able to put maybe a card in there, a tag, a bookmark, an envelope, whatever you want to. Oh look, my doctor's appointment. So that needs to go there, and then that will just come over here and it will be tied up like so. Easy peasy, nothing difficult about that. So that is that one finished. So now Picasso did us a favour, didn't he? That's still a bit tacky, so I'll be very careful. So that is now the two. I have got a favourite one here. I wonder which one you prefer. I prefer this one, and I think it's because it has a plain background. It stands out more, it's less fussy. Funnily enough, the spine is fussy on that one, and the back maybe, I'm not sure. I do like the back of that. Inside it's just like this one, but as far as the actual picture design, I prefer that one. This one worried me from the beginning, I think, from the minute I started, because, take the signatures out, it was too fussy, the background was too fussy. But hey ho, that was a learning curve. So I think, looking at them both now, when I do this again, I think I might stick to the plain, well I know I will stick to the plain background. It works better than this. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, please have a look at my other videos. There's several, maybe about 20 or more, with different ways of decorating your pages with slow stitch and textiles. You might enjoy it. If you enjoyed this, you'll enjoy the others. So thank you for following along. Please subscribe, There'll be other videos coming out shortly, and I've really enjoyed this and I hope you have. So I'm saying goodbye now. Thank you very much for joining me again, and take care. Bye.